somebody gonna shoot me.
Proof that Drake killed XXXTentacion. Jase Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy, or better yet known as XXXTentacion, was murdered on June 18, 2018. He was the youngest, most influential generational talent at the time of his passing. His passing has left us in complete shock and a loss of words. The three men who did such an egregious crime were sentenced to life in prison on April 6, 2023, and the fourth killer, the driver, was sentenced to just 2 years. Now, as I break down this trial, bear with me, as most of the information that you guys are seeking for will be after I explain the trial. So during the trial, Aubrey Graham, or better known as Drake, was called into question when Dedrick Williams, one of the murderer's defense attorney, listed Drake as a possible culprit, reciting lyrics from the infamous tweet saying, "If anyone kills me, it was Champagne Papi. I'm snitching." Now, popular male artist or male rapper and producer Kanye West, or better known as Ye, had a very similar outburst or quote-unquote rant on Twitter the same year XXXTentacion died, saying, quote, "So Drake, if anything happens to me or anyone from my family, you are the first suspect, so cut the tough talk." Now, why would someone as big as Kanye West be afraid of his life following XXXTentacion's death? Kanye seemed to be the target for Drake, and the frightened tweets from Kanye was awfully concerning, as public opinions look at Drake as some sort of princess who could do no wrong at the time. Furthermore, the attorney of XXXTentacion killer used the infamous tweet to try to draw a mistrial, as Padilla, the attorney, said that quote-unquote the Parkland shooting was taking up all of the resources because it was a school shooting that they felt that they had to spend more time investigating on. XXXTentacion murder wasn't even done properly. They easily labeled the attorney accusations of Drake to be quote-unquote a conspiracy theory, as you all may know that they always use that label to discredit people for thinking outside of the box, a word used to cover up many truths. The judge allowed it, saying that, quote, "If this is their defense, even though there's no basis in fact, I'm not going to deny them from their defense because they have a right as criminal defendants to present evidence that they think will exonerate them." Quote, also saying, quote, "If I deny them that opportunity, the verdict may be overturned." Graham was specifically called for a pretrial discovery deposition, as Florida is one of the few states that actually allows that. The Atlanta-based attorney who recently represented Gunna, the popular male rap artist, says that in Georgia, you can't force someone to go under oath. Both lawyers said if Aubrey doesn't show up, they could fine him for each day he doesn't show up. And if he had an open warrant, then he could have possibly been arrested. The warrant was good for Florida, but not other states. So if he was in California or Toronto, they would have had to have gotten in contact with court systems. But by that time, the trial would have been over and it would have taken too long. I'm saying all of this to draw out a timeline and also maybe even a mistrial even after the murderers were sentenced. So bear with me. So lyrics from Drake's song Non-Stop that was released literally a month after XXXTentacion's death saying,
"I'm upset. 50,000 on my head is disrespect. Jump up out the bed like I'm possessed. I go out on tour and I say I'm drinking less. End up getting loose and getting pictures from my ex. SMS, triple X. That's the only time I ever shoot below the nest. Why you keep on shooting if you know that nigga dead? That's the only kind of shit that gets you so much respect." That bass, man, had a moment, but it came and went. You don't want to play with him, no. They'll be morning you like 8 a.m. Money for revenge, man, that's hardly an expense. I'm a bill printer, I'm a grave digger. Yeah, I am what I am. I don't have no time for no misunderstand. There's a
quote, "SMS, triple X. That's the only time I ever shoot below the neck. Why you keep on shooting if you know that nigga dead? That's the only kind of shit that gets you some respect." With lines like that, it should leave y'all to question a little bit, right? Of course, the argument that if you're going to use lyrics to convict someone for creating quote-unquote art could be unconstitutional, but if you look at the court case that we have in 2024 with Young Thug or quote-unquote Jeffrey Williams trial, they're reacting or reciting lyrics pertaining to actual events. But it's kind of interesting why there's a double standard for Drake and not Young Thug, mainly because of the imagery. It's easier to believe a black man did that type of stuff and said the crime than a more Jewish white man rapping about a crime. If you're blatantly questioning or questioned for something and your lyrics has details pertaining to the alleged situation, it's most common sense to put the two and two together, as people who rap or make music say how they feel and what they've experienced. Now let's get into what the judge, jurors, and attorney didn't get into, the actual proof of Drake killing XXXTentacion. Now the XXXTentacion beef with Drake started when the Toronto ghostwriting artist stole XXX flow from Look At Me.
Plays this shit, I hear da-da-da-da-da, I'm like, what the f? As soon as it started, like I knew he was getting that. And the funny thing is, we didn't discover it. The fan, like you said, the fans, because they're so cold, like it's like, I got a piece of the internet. Corporately, that nigga is the GOAT.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I knew what I was doing when I said what I said, and I knew how to approach him.
On his More Life single, KMT, the same album with the songs like Teenage Fever, where he's singing about an underage girl. So following that incident, XXX then went on an interview no other than and no other place than Miami. Mind you, the same place where he passed and the same place where Drake has a residency in. And frequently, you know, Drake stays in Toronto, Miami, and LA. So he then went to say, calling Drake the B word for stealing his entire flow and style. The tweets of XXX was put out in a rapid pace, and he didn't leave no words left behind, as he said Drake stole Hotline Bling, as it is clearly a bite off of Cha-Cha, and also talks about how Drake likes to play as innocent and saying that he wasn't the first one that Drake bit from. Right? Also saying that money can't buy respect. This was a year before he was killed. XXX also stated in various tweets that Drake's career is almost over and that he better start saving money and investing into real estate, because quote unquote, once it's all over, he really gonna see the fake love. Which, if you fast forward to 2024 after the Kendrick Lamar rap battle, it looks like XXXTentacion was way ahead of his time. He absolutely saw Drake for who he was before the whole world knew who he was. Saying stuff like, and I'm paraphrasing here, quote, "It's funny how the industry let this guy sit at the top for so long. All of y'all should off yourself." That's what he tweeted. He tweeted something paraphrasing off of that, because I don't want to say the verbatim tweet because there's a lot of some curse words in there. But he literally saw Drake for who he was at the time where Drake was at his peak and XXXTentacion was rising, if not at his peak at the time. XXXTentacion also said he'd slap men and said that don't come to Florida. Pretty ironic, Drake has a song called From Florida with Love, right? With lyrics saying, quote, "I could lose it all if I'm reacting to the petty things. Know that if I see you, I'ma ask you if you said them things," right? With also lines like, quote, "YMB the gang and they down to saying anything." Now, let me break that lyric down for y'all for a little bit, right? When he stated the gang, using his label's Young Money initials with the same 3 letters, right? So count the 3 letters, YMB. Now, if you look at the XXX murderers, the people who murdered XXXTentacion, they were in a gang called, quote, the ZMF gang. So ZMF, YMB. Very interesting, the letter before Z is Y, and the B stays the same in the middle, and F is replaced with B. Very, very condescending bars, irony. What could we call this? Because people's obviously gonna try to defend this as art or something like that, but it doesn't make any sense because Drake is not known to rap about or make music about death and murder and stuff like that. But all of a sudden, after XXXTentacion, his music became a lot more about those topics. Let's keep it going. He also said he would lose it all if he reacted to petty things, alluding to the tweets of XXXTentacion, right? Who said this about Drake mom, and I quote, "Drake mom kinda cute. She could get it." And he even changed his profile picture to him as Drake dad sitting next to Drake's mom holding Drake in his arms. Now, sometime maybe months after XXXTentacion was brutally attacked and laid motionless for at least 2 minutes before being carried off stage, as the video attack went viral, guess what major artist was laughing and mocking the unconscious artist? Drake, saying, quote, "Rockabye baby," with laughing emojis under no other than who post? Academics, who is lustfully infatuated with Drake. Now keep Academics' name in your mind. XXXTentacion later went on and said, next time, make sure you kill me so I can't talk my ish. I'm not retaliating and I'm not saying nothing. We believe XXX knew who was behind this, but stayed quiet at the time, as many people wouldn't probably believe him and he had to stay safe and wear a muzzle at the time because his life was in danger while the biggest artist in the world was clowning him. In conclusion, there is a song that recently came out on the album For All the Dogs, which was released on October 6th. Now keep that date in mind, October 6th, right? 6th, 2023, the same year the murderers got convicted. Drake has a wordplay of, quote, treat all my exes like Jehovah Witnesses, right? Now let me break that line down for y'all a little bit more. Here's another play off of the multiple exes line, like where he used in the song Nonstop, where he said SMS XXX. He's saying he closed the door on X, right? Like almost like a closed casket kind of, when you close the door on a Jehovah Witness or you don't answer the door. And notice that Drake is also a Jewish rapper talking about Jehovah. Why did he use that word specifically, right? It's a play off of XXXTentacion's real name, Jase. Now, the way XXXTentacion name Jase is spelled is J-A-H, and it starts off like Jehovah. If you're kind of reading it and don't know how to say the name itself, I kind of almost mixed it up with Jehovah a little bit multiple times. He uses these very subtle subliminal lines to poke at victims while the public just thinks it's the surface level of what it means. He also goes on to say, free all the dogs and F all the witnesses, doubling down on the witness, right? Which means court cases and freeing the guys who were convicted literally the same year as the album dropped. And here's another jewel. If you guys don't remember when I told y'all to keep y'all mind on October 6th, now think about this. When the killers were sentenced, they were sentenced on April 6th. The album dropped October 6th, which is literally, and I mean literally 6 months apart. There goes that secret number, 666. Now, a lot of y'all already know what that number represents, and no, it's not a Toronto area code. To make matters even worse, he even has a hook. The hook on the song is, quote, shot him in daylight, which he says for legitimately 6 lines, the same 4 words. And also, XXX was literally killed in broad daylight. Drake also said, quote, my doggy got booked for acting like Book. He shot him in, right? Using a play off of the words of the famous shooting guard Devin Booker, who's known for shooting jumpers, right? So when he's talking about shot him in daylight, he's playing off of those words, right? A lot of his stuff, y'all be thinking it's surface level, like the surface level bars is there. Yes, it's surface level, Booker. But when you actually look at his actual record of who he is and what he could be alluding to in the play off of words, adds even more wordplay and more metaphors and entendres off of it. If you know that the same year, 6 months earlier, he was being called onto the stand basically to say something, at least. If this video don't give you a conclusive reason to believe that Drake paid off or might have had like a middleman to pay off the murders, then I don't know really what to tell you. And also, the killers have brand new iPhones and are taking high quality pictures in prison, mocking XXX's son, and somehow posted it. And guess what blog site picked it up? Remember who I told y'all to remember? Academics. The same dude who's lustfully lust after Drake. In the same song, Daylight, Drake is alluding to robbing someone before shooting them. Like talking about Whopper, #1, and all of this other stuff. He constantly is talking about robbing someone of their wrists, their chains, all of this stuff. Now think about this. XXXTentacion was robbed of his possessions. Almost $50,000 in total is what we accumulated, or we have come to find, or it could have been more. And if the rap battle between Kendrick and Drake didn't show y'all that Drake keeps his victims chains, like the one he stole from Pharrell to mock and disrespect them in a video, I believe it was called Family Matters, something tells me that he might have XXXTentacion XXXTentacion jewelry as well, somewhere hidden, of course. But that's basically going to be the video that I have for you guys today. Please drop a like, comment, share, and subscribe, as we did countless research and gathered plenty of evidence on the situation to have proper justice for XXXTentacion, who was murdered and didn't even get the proper justice, as he told us before he was gone who was after him. He literally said, if I die, it's Champagne Papi, it's Drake. That's not a joke. This video was for his soul to have some sort of peace. Please share this with the fans of XXXTentacion, as I feel like they were robbed from a generational talent. And it wasn't just a random murder. It was an attack from the #1 male statistical artist who knew XXXTentacion was coming for his spot.
Worst thing comes to worst, I die a tragic death or some shit, and I'm not able to see out my dreams. I at least want to know that the kids perceived my message and were able to make something of themselves and able to take my message and use it and turn it into something positive, and to at least have a good life. I at least, if I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy, or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life, regardless of the negative around my name, regardless of the bad things people say to me. I don't give a fuck, because I know my goal in the end, and I know what I want for everyone, and I know what my message is. So I just wanted to say, I appreciate and love all of you, and I believe in you all. Do not let your depression make you. Do not let your body define your soul. Let your soul define your body. Your mind is limitless. You are worth more than you could believe. All you have to do is dream